Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we're back. We've got a great show for all of you today. And what we're going to be sharing with you today are the top 7 reasons why a lot of agents needlessly struggle and oftentimes fail out of the real estate industry. Now, we're sharing these points with you, obviously, so you can avoid these things. But then as you are, kindly welcoming in new agents into the industry, maybe you can pass this information along to them as well. If you're a broker, or you're an office manager, you're a team leader, feel free to print out the notes. Now, the notes for today's podcast, with all of our podcasts, are actually down in the show description. So if you're on iTunes or if you're on Stitcher, Spotify, where I think we're on now 40 different podcast listening widgets, and of course YouTube, just scroll down and there are the notes and just cut and paste them and use them as you need. But please do share this information with many other agents as you can, so they don't need to suffer and they can actually stay in the business long term. Because the fact is it's not that difficult to stay in this real estate industry for a long period of time, provided you avoid these 7 top reasons.
That's right. So first, a quick fact for you. According to the National Association of Realtors, 87% of licensed realtors do actually fail out of the business within 5 years or less. Now, what that means is only 13% survive. Why is this, and how can you be part of the 13%, not just surviving, but actually thriving? So we're going to give you some reasons. Reason number 1, absolutely no accountability of any kind. Now, most agents were previously either in school with lots of accountability or were a W-2 employee working a, quote, normal job, which had daily accountability. But now that you're in a 1099 independent contractor world, most agents become immediately too independent and can go months without even knowing what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. So sporadic work equals sporadic income, and that can cause you to fail out of the business.
Don't underestimate the power of a schedule. Don't underestimate the power of, like in a normal job, having a boss that's holding you accountable or systems that are holding you accountable. By the way, in essence, that's what we do in our coaching organization. We will hold you accountable to the most specific things, so you can stay on track and you won't find yourself looking down the barrel of not staying in the industry. And it's also fascinating, Julie, you said that basically, 90% or whatever of all agents fail within the first 60 months. That statistic is very similar to the number of small business owners that fail.
Sure.
And so a lot of small business owners will fail for the same damn reasons a lot of agents fail, because guess what? All of you guys are small business owners.
Newsflash. That's right. So reason number 2, confusion about where closable, motivated buyer and seller leads actually come from. This starts when newer agents have a couple of fairly easy deals right out of the gates, which are almost always friends or family. That makes it easy to believe that all of your deals will always come easily and always from people who already trust you. But once this runs its course, agents wait too long to become proactive or start spending money that they don't have on things that won't work or won't work quickly enough. Closable leads come from people who clearly need your help. You can, of course, refer to our podcast, Real Estate Agents 90-Day Money-Making Plan. We did that last week. And the countless other podcasts we have regarding proactive lead generation. But really, the reason is they wait too long to get proactive.
This mirrors a conversation I had with an agent yesterday. I'll give you guys the high points. It was a gal who was with RE/MAX, and she had, I think, sold 5 houses in the last 6 months or something like that. Not so bad, right? Well, let's get to the nitty-gritty. All of these transactions were essentially referrals, but not referral from agent to agent or center of influence past client, like a good referral. These were from a company called OpCity. And if I understood what she was describing to me, what happened was the OpCity referral was coming to her via her RE/MAX broker. The RE/MAX broker, in between the RE/MAX broker and OpCity, she was paying something close to 75% of her commission in referral fees. And obviously not making much money. And she'd taken the time to figure out the amount of time and, frankly, money she put into just closing those 5 transactions. She would have been better off working at Starbucks. And that's the unfortunate truth, because a lot of you guys never learn how to be proactive lead generators. Now, a lot of you stay in these situations with your brokerage where you don't realize that you're paying your biggest single expense is what your broker's charging you. And so the conversation that we had, or I had with her rather, led to her joining Julie and I at eXp Realty. And also she's going to become one of our coaching clients. When you are with Julie and I at eXp Realty, we give you have a lifetime membership to our coaching program. Why? Because we're partners in your real estate business. We want you to be successful long term. So we give you our complete coaching system for free, not just for 30 days. And that's when you join with Julie and I at eXp Realty. I know that's going to, generate a lot of interest, and a lot of you are ready to upgrade your brokerage experience. You're ready to take it to the next level. Well, I encourage you to do so. You could do one of two ways. The easiest way is just to text me like she did at 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206. And when you do, please say in the subject line of the text, that you're asking about eXp, and give me a little bit of information on yourself so we can hit the ground running with our conversation. And then I will then take direction based on what your background is and help you get all of your questions answered. 90% of the people I talk to about eXp move forward with eXp because it makes sense for everyone, whether you're a high-end agent, low-end agent, new agent, experienced agent, big team, even if you're a large brokerage. We had a large brokerage and one of the largest teams that moved over with us in the last 6 months. So please do consider a broker upgrade, along with, frankly, an educational upgrade that when you join with Julie and I at eXp Realty, you get for free for life as long as you're with eXp Realty. So just text me directly at 512-758-0206. Reason number 3. Go ahead, Julie.
All right. Relying on luck, hopium, and speculation instead of actual sales skills. Stop spending your hard-earned money on things that are not directly related to closed transactions. And the list is huge. I didn't even include the list, but this goes anywhere from, working on branding, building teams, spending money on speculative things, paying for impressions, paying for search engine optimization. All of these things fall into that bucket that are not directly related to closed transactions. Now, in Premier Coaching, we do teach you how to know the difference, how to track and source where your deals are coming from so that you can do more of what works and dump whatever doesn't work or don't start in the first place.
Well, that at the end of the day is really the bottom line. I'll suggest that you guys have this as a filter, your decision-making filter for where you should be, quote unquote, investing or spending your money for lead generation. If it's not going to put money in your pocket in the next, let's say, 90 days or 120 days or less, for sure, then don't do it. Which means you're going to eliminate pretty much all forms of advertising. Branding, marketing, social media, all of that is nothing other than advertising. You have to spend your time and you have to spend your money oftentimes to get people to see your social media. You have to create your social media in such a compelling way that someone's going to want to interact with you. That's called an advertisement, folks. Don't be confused or don't be seduced just because it's called social media. It's advertising. Making a bunch of videos is advertising, hoping that people are going to want to engage with your ad and then respond. Well, why don't you cut out the middleman and stop, frankly, in an economy like this, doesn't make sense to try to perfect something that's speculative. For example, branding and marketing. Focus on the people who have their hands to their ear right now, who actually want to, do a transaction with you. That's always been and always will be the primary focus of our real estate business. There are over 30, and we've done podcasts on this and obviously extensive coaching on this. There are over 30 different verifiable, proven, reliable sources of listing leads, most of which I think like 27 of them cost you absolutely nothing.
That's right.
And we're going to include links and such down again in the show description so you guys can learn more about our coaching program, Premier Coaching. I won't talk about it now, but just scroll down. It's the next natural step for all of you. And click and join, and you can join Premier Coaching for free. Reason number 4, frankly, my favorite point.
Yes, and that is not leading with profit. Your product is profit. Every day you make the decision to run a not-for-profit organization or a for-profit. Which one you're running depends on the actions that you're taking. Refer to our podcast about your success schedule and lots of other podcasts, but that's a good one. Activities that lead to profit in real estate are proactive lead generation, furiously fast lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, presenting, negotiating, and closing. Now, the entire list that I just rattled off, which our Premier and Elite coaching clients have memorized, that is dependent on one activity, proactive lead generation. If you're not great at that, the rest of the list is kind of irrelevant.
But the essence of reason number 4, point number 4, what you should hopefully be internalizing is the actual product of your real estate business. And by the way, small business owners in general, this is also true for you. Let's say, for example, you had, Bob's Pie Shop and you were making pies. And I asked you, Bob, what is your product? you're going to, rightfully, logically, you're going to say pies. But truthfully, if you're focusing on making pies and you're not focusing on creating profit from the pies you're making, you're not going to be, you're going to be out of business really fast. So your product as a small, cash flowed business is absolutely 100% profit. Oh, yes, I understand, agents. It's happy closed transactions. It's sold homes. Maybe, you're doing some, flips or whatever. I get all of that. But if you're not making profit, you have no business. You're running a nonprofit business. Absolutely positively start every single financial conversation you have with regards to lead generation and your time allocation with have the first line item be profit. In other words, you're going to do this activity. Well, let's go back to the idea of you're going to buy business, right? Which we're not advocates of, but let's just say that's what you're being seduced into doing. You're going to buy buyer leads, the worst of the worst, let's say. So you're buying these buyer leads, but have you actually, I get it, you got an email, here's a great buyer, they want to buy $1 million house, and you're thinking you have, cash flow, or you have rather dollar signs dancing in your head, and you're thinking, I'm going to make all this money. Well, you haven't factored in the fact, as I just kind of talked about a second ago, that you're going to have hellacious referral fees oftentimes, to the point where you would have been better off not having worked that deal at all. Or if you're a brand new agent, you work every deal. Or if you're having a cash flow crunch yourself, work every deal. But if you cannot stay in that mode. You have to be migrating towards being a listing agent, because that's where you can start creating consistency of cash flow. So your profit is your product. The profit you make from your business then not only produces a nice lifestyle for you, but makes it so then you can start reinvesting that profit into other things that are legitimately passive income sources, apartment buildings, single family homes, like what Julie and I have, things like that. Maybe other businesses. I had someone this morning ask me Julie and I to invest in a gym. And I said, no, this is not the time. Actually, it's 2 gyms. It's not the time to be opening up new gyms. This is absolutely 100% not the right economy for opening up anything that's even remotely speculative, no matter what the industry is. And I don't want to hear, you guys are going to say, well, you're going to try to hit me with some contrarian advice about how, you want to do the opposite. And you're fundamentally correct, but here's the problem. If you're thinking about venturing into something that doesn't have an actual short-term payoff, that means that you're going to be spending money and not holding it accountable. So I'm going to start a big marketing and branding campaign. After all, the more people know who I am, the more people associate me and my community with real estate, the more people are naturally going to, want to call me. I'm going to be the Coca-Cola of real estate. I'm going to be the Kleenex of real estate. That's what you guys actually believe. Okay, how long, how much money, how much time, how much effort, how much, all that are you going to put towards that dream, that fantasy? If your ultimate goal is to sell real estate, make money and make a lot of profit, why don't you instead learn how to proactively go and just take a listing from, say, for example, an expired listing? Why would you do all this speculative stuff? Why? Explain it to me. And here's the other thing that's really, I think, for many of you, an interesting illumination of the fallacy that's been taught for so long in the industry about branding and marketing. It's actually easier to do what Julie and I prescribe than it is to learn, to master, and to always keep updated what you have to know in order to do marketing, branding, and all the rest of it. I'll say that again. What we teach you to do, which will put money in your pocket faster and more consistently, is 1 billion times easier than doing the rest of it. I mean, look to see how complicated it is just to make a damn YouTube video and get your mom to watch it, right? I mean, there's 100 steps, let's be honest.
And then the rules change as soon as you're done.
Don't build your mansion on land you don't own, which is what Julie just said. In other words, you could do all this social media marketing and branding stuff, and then all of a sudden the algorithm could change, the rules could change, and now all the stuff you spent all this time creating, all of a sudden overnight is obsoleted. That happens all the damn time. You've experienced it. So if you have the skill set to know how to proactively lead generate, your brain will always have that information. You'll always have that skill set. It's like riding a bike.
It's not a moving target the way the rest of the stuff is.
Exactly. That's the reason we want to bring sanity to real estate. And really the best way, I think, again, that's the reason I like point number 4 so much, is profit is your product. And if you have that as a steadfast rule, you will be shocked how many decisions you decide or how many things you decide not to do, because you will not be able to see a direct relation between effort and your results, and the results should be profit. Reason number 5.
Reason number 5, why agents can fail out of the business in 5 years or less: lazy lead follow-up, overly complicated communication methods. If you're not using lead follow-up scripts, buyer and seller pre-qualification scripts, and furiously fast in your follow-up, you are on track to be part of that 87% failure rate in the first 5 years or less. If you're ending any day with leads you have not called, you are a lazy lead follower-upper. And I would refer you to our several podcasts called 18 Relentless Lead Follow-Up Rules. And lots of times we've talked about this specific point. I can tell you, Tim, this is one of the points that our most successful premier and elite coaching clients go back to.
Especially the upper end ones, especially the
Yes.
ones making $1 million per year. Plus.
100%.
Right, because what happens is you are seduced into believing that you can delegate your lead follow-up, or seduced into believing you can delegate your any kind of lead follow-up. It doesn't even have to be people you're chasing. It could just be somebody that just called in on a house, right? You're delegating it to people that do not have the same skill set, the same motivation, and frankly won't get the same results. And furthermore, the consumer who's calling in, they're going to know that that is not you that's calling them back, and they're not going to have any interest whatsoever in spending as much time with whoever you've delegated the lead follow-up to. And the other thing you guys do is you don't even call people back. You'll put them in these long drip campaigns, hoping and praying that somehow this magical email or video you send them is going to get them to want to do business with you. That's the same thing that every single other real estate agent on planet Earth is doing. And you know those consumers are calling other people. So why would you be reliant on some sort of passive form of lead follow-up? Use our buyer or seller pre-qualification script. Call people back. Furiously fast lead follow-up. What does that mean? It means you call them back furiously fast.
Call.
Call.
As in talk into your smartphone.
Right. Now, if they text you, call them back. You have their damn phone number. If they email you, say, in case, what's your phone number so I can call you back? You know, anything and everything needs to lead to a phone call. Why? Because nobody else makes phone calls nowadays. Everybody else, and most of you, you're being incorrectly trained into doing anything other than picking up the phone. That is a really low-skilled, high-failure, it's a terrible way of doing business. Reason number 6.
Reason number 6, no business plan, no business coach, and little exposure to success. Influencers on Instagram and YouTube don't count. Birds of a feather flock together, so if you're hanging out with a bunch of new or unproductive agents, you feel like that's normal. That goes with bad mindset agents as well. Oh, the market has shifted, we'll just wait until it turns around. Instead, follow and emulate the successful. This business is far more simple than most agents make it. This is why we have daily live coaching sessions where you can be hearing from your motivated colleagues that are out there doing the business. You know what I love about those sessions with our coaches, Tim? Agents aren't going there to whine and complain about things. They're not talking about getting ready to get started. They're going to those sessions saying, here's my situation. What's the script for it? How can I close this person? I need your help. Real world situations.
Yeah, again, every day there's a semi-private coaching call with a Harris certified coach when you're a premier coaching member. And the coaches themselves are actually doing transactions, and oftentimes lots and lots of transactions.
Yep.
And they've been with us as personal coaching clients for years. They know our system. So when you're on a semi-private coaching call with our Harris certified coach, you're going to be interacting directly with them, but you'll actually learn more, not from actually thinking of questions for you to ask and having them answered, but listening to the questions that other people are asking and having those answered as well. That causes you to be around like-minded people. We are attracting into our coaching organization. In the last 30 days, we had 174 of you join, and real number. And so what we're seeing are a lot of agents who are done with the malaise, done with the doom and gloom, done with the foreclosure bro conversation, done with the fear of this, the fear of that. They want to make this business their business. They want to make this market their market. They are done with the worry, done with the fear, done with all the, again, lazy people looking for an excuse, using the idea that the economy is terrible, and that's the reason they're not going to drill down and do what they don't want to do, and they don't want to do at the highest level. Here's the hidden agenda behind people that are overly pessimistic and trying to convince you that this is a terrible market. Because if you've actually been, if you personally believe, or if you've been seduced into believing that your tomorrow is not going to be better than your today, does that make you want to work hard today or be lazy today? Now, I want you to think about what I just said. If you believe, for example, there's going to be some sort of big alien invasion that's going to happen next week, could happen, by the way.
It could.
Yeah. And what are you not going to do today? Are you going to go to the gym? I'm not.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're believing that inflation is going to crash the real estate market, how motivated are you to go get your next new listing?
How motivated are you if you think house prices are going to fall, how motivated are you to sell your friends and your family members a house? You're not. You see, what you're doing is you're filling your mind with anti-motivational information. You're surrounding yourself with people that are anti-motivational. What's their payoff? Why are they doing it? There's an interesting question, right? The psychology of the people that are acting like this, which by the way, they always act like this. If back, when the housing market was great, they were saying, oh, it's going to be a bubble. It's a bubble. Yeah. Same damn people are always acting like this, always act like this, because they are always searching for an excuse to never have to do what they don't want to do when they don't want to do it at the highest level. Maybe it's prospecting. Maybe it's, getting over their fear of rejection. Maybe it's their, frankly, not wanting to be lazy. So that is what you need to avoid. If you are like that, you need to acknowledge the fact that you are acting like that because you are getting a benefit from that bad behavior. The benefit you're getting is you give yourself a great excuse to be lazy. I'll say it for the third time. If you do not believe that tomorrow is going to be better than today, you sure as hell aren't going to put much effort into today, right? And that's what a lot of people do. That's how a lot of people operate. And it's a horrible way to live because you don't just lose a day. You lose decades. And we've seen that happen with, especially at this point in our lives. We've seen people that fell into the rut back during the housing market when it truly crashed in 07, and they have never come back. They're waiting for the other shoe to drop. They've been waiting for almost 20 years.
They had their butts kicked, and they didn't have a comeback.
Right. They didn't want to put the work in to build themselves back. And so they just figured, what the hell? It's going to happen again. Why should I try?
Well, so that goes back to this point that we're talking about, point number 6, about not following a plan. What you're talking about is following headlines and being subject to your emotions and influences and negativity versus buckling down and following a specific plan like our coaching members do. What is the saying? Failure to plan is planning to fail. So when you are a Premier Coaching member, you do get business plans. You do get a step-by-step process where you are really creating a business versus letting something run you. You are in control when you're following that specific plan, and you're surrounded by coaches and colleagues that are doing the same thing.
That's the greatest benefit, what Julie just said. The plan, the scripts, all the rest of it. That's really, if obviously necessary, otherwise we don't have a coaching organization. Where the real power comes from is being around like-minded people. Some of you are going to feel so massively refreshed when you are participating in our Premier Coaching Program, because finally you're going to be around a community of people that are like what you are, already feel like, or want to be like. And we're going to continue to obviously pour a lot more fuel on that fire, because we 100% believe that, the fact is that there's the greatest fortunes of men and women have always been made during the greatest times of change. And there's no question we're in one of those greatest times of change now. Now Julie and I are going to roll to point number 7. And I'll actually have, I'll read it to you. Failure to save is failure failure to save and failure to pay taxes. That's the 7th reason a lot of agents, I'll throw another one in there, overpaying your broker and not paying attention to it. So Julie's script here is: Glenn Sanford, the founder of the fastest growing real estate brand in the world, said that agents are historically terrible at those two things. You must pay yourself first, pay your taxes on time, and find multiple sources of profit from your real estate practice. I want to build on that. So Glenn Sanford started eXp Realty in 2008 during the housing crash, right in the middle of what would have been the worst 3 years.
The worst of it.
All right. Now, he based the formation of eXp Realty on the idea that a real estate brokerage, has to be able to survive and thrive in the worst times. So the fundamentals of eXp Realty were created during what would have been similar times to maybe what we're experiencing now, the hard times. And you can see when you compare eXp Realty's business model, the fact that now eXp is thriving, adding agents, becoming more profitable. The stock value is increasing. It's the only publicly traded company right now that's experiencing this level of success in this market, because Glenn and all of us over the last forever have created eXp Realty to be made for a market like this and all the markets to come. So if you are, frankly, in a quagmire yourself, and you're hoping and praying that somehow the business is going to bounce back, or somehow things are going to be like they were 6 months ago or 18 months ago, it's just not going to happen. We are in a long-term cycle. Long-term means 3 to 5 years. The inflation is not going to clear up. The inflation is going to stay at least 5%, if not more. There's no reason to believe that we're in any sort of temporary economic state. We're in a long-term sort of, market figuring out what direction it's going to go. Eventually, there will be a return of a boom market. Maybe it's going to be brought on by, falling interest rates. Maybe it's going to be brought on by a new construction housing boom. A lot of things have to happen before either of those things happen. So for now, this is what the market has to offer. So the smartest thing all of you guys can do is seriously look at what your biggest line items are. And I mean your marketing and your branding, but also every single agent I talk to about joining Julie and I eXp Realty, every single one of them, their biggest expense, and oftentimes they don't even know it, is their broker. I had a call, another eXp Realty call. I don't remember now, to be honest, yesterday or today. They all
have a
lot. Yeah, and the question, I always start out, especially if they're a high producing agent, is I want to know if they know their numbers. And I said this before, and it's definitely true. With the exception of one person,
Sue Romans,
nobody knew their numbers. They would guess. And I would say, well, let's go through it. So they'd say, well, I'm on a 90-10 split, or I'm on this, the other thing. And then you go through all the questions. Do you have a cap? Is there a royalty fee? Is there transaction fees? Is there all these, the rest of it? And 99% of the time, they are stuck. They're focused on, well, my commission split's 93%. They don't realize if you factor in all the other expenses that they're paying, they're usually on a non-cap brokerage situation where they're making about 75, basically 75%. And they are in some cases paying their brokerage hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. It's not unusual for me to talk to somebody who's been at a brokerage for years and they didn't realize, or maybe they were in denial, that they have spent over the last 4 or 5 years to be at that brokerage over $1 million. In other words, they paid their broker over $1 million. At eXp Realty, your cap is $16,000. If you qualify for something called the Icon program, you qualify then to get your cap back in the form of EXPI stock. I have never seen, in all the years Julie and I have been in the industry, something that's truly this agent-centric. I mentioned the other day, someone accused Julie and I of joining a cult when we joined eXp Realty. There's an old saying that the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. That also goes true with eXp Realty. The best time to join eXp Realty would have been about...
Was in 2008.
It would have been 2008 or 2009. Yeah. The second best time is now because of this market. Give yourself a break and figure out the fact that even if you're a new agent, one of the fastest way for you to actually make more net income is to reduce your expenses while at the same time increasing your revenue. Makes sense? Well, your single line item, largest expense, I promise you, is what you're paying your broker. So doesn't it just make sense, especially in this market, in the market that is inevitably coming, which might be a pretty nasty recession, frankly, that you really start drilling down on this stuff now? That's the smart move. Let's have the conversation about eXp Realty. Text me directly at 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206. If you would like to just gather more information about eXp, we are allowing you to do that as well quite easily. I'm going to leave a link below in the comments section, or you can just text the letters EXP to 47372. Text the letters EXP to 47372. I know some of you get annoyed when Julie and I talk about eXp Realty so often. I want you to ask yourself why. Why are you annoyed that we're talking about it? We believe in it. You believe in us. You know that we're the real deal. You know we're not going to tell you anything that we don't 100% know is true. That should tell you, that reason alone should tell you that you need to take a hard look at eXp Realty. You could be, in the same brokerage for years and years and years. Maybe you're completely loyal. You love them. Maybe they're like family. I get all of it. At least know what you're not saying yes to. Text the letters EXP to 47372. Watch the videos that are on that website. Or if you're ready to land the plane and you're looking for a sponsor who's going to be very proactive in your success at eXp Realty, text me directly on my real live cell phone. Do not call. I will not answer. A lot of you do not listen to me about that.
It's because you're talking to people. It's not because you won't talk to them, but text first.
Right, text first. And it's 512-758-0206. In the meantime, guys, thank you for keeping this #1 listened to daily podcast for real estate professionals in at least the United States. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.